Oop. Okay, hold on. Volume up. And let's get rolling. Thank you for joining me today on Surviving the System. This is Dancing Dave. I'm going to open with a quote. This is from Susie Kassem. Rise up and salute the sun. Beautiful is he who recognizes what is truly beautiful, even if the surface is ugly. Truthful is he who says what is true, even if the truth is ugly. Ugly is he who measures beauty by its exterior, without first weighing the interior. And ugly is the man who judges harshly what he sees looking out, without first judging what he sees in the mirror. You ever have those times when you're just like, well, you know what? What else could possibly go wrong now? You know, trouble at work, trouble at home, money problems, car problems. It just seems like they're everywhere, right? First problem comes, and it's like, okay, this isn't that big of a deal. I can handle this. Perfect. There we go. We're good. Okay. And then on the heels of that, bam, another one. And you think, okay, well, this kind of sucks, but all right, let's keep going. I can handle this. And then, wham, another one. And you kind of start to feel yourself take a knee a little bit. And you're like, okay, this is a little more difficult. And then another. And then another. And it ends with you just looking up into the sky, throwing your hands up and going, why are you doing this to me? Because it sucks. It sucks when things don't go exactly the way that we think they should. However, and just bear with me on this one, what if, just what if, these circumstances that we call problems, that we call drama, that we call such horrible things that have happened to us, are really messages that are telling us something about ourselves? Something we need to be made aware of. Something profound that if we could just figure it out, if we could just understand what the message is, we would have just a major aha moment. So, spoiler alert, they are. Before I get into my content for today, I'd like to start with a little bit of business. So first of all, thank you all very much for allowing me to live out my purpose, to be here talking to you and reminding you of who you are. You have no idea how much it does for me to be able to be here to help you and to get the feedback that I do from all of you, from everyone on Twitter, the emails that I get from South Africa, of all places, from here in the United States. Thank you all so much for engaging with me. I would ask you to continue to do so. If you find value in this show, if you like this, please subscribe, share it with your community, send me a comment, just engage with me in some form or fashion, but I'm asking for your help to continue to grow this show and to grow this audience. Things have really started to pick up some momentum, and I love it. I mean, this is what I imagined when I first sat down in my basement and said, hey, I've got an idea for a podcast, and sent an email over to Joe. And here I am today, being able to do things like this and to talk to people like you and to talk about some of the subjects that I am and to help the people that I'm helping. And I love it. It's fantastic. This has been just an extremely difficult season for my life. You know, we have these terms good and bad that have been programmed into our unconscious mind. That programming says. And when things are going smoothly, well, it must be good. And when something doesn't go the way that we want it, well, that's bad. Good and bad are relative terms. If you've ever listened to me before, you've heard me say this numerous times, that even the things that we consider bad are sometimes the best things that ever happened to us. And even with good and bad being relative, something that might be bad to you might not be bad for everybody. I remember when I first got home and I would listen to people complain about their jobs. Be like, oh, I hate having to get up and go to work. Oh, I hate my job. Oh, this. And I would just say, I mean, do you not realize how grateful you should be? Do you not realize how many people out there would trade spots with you in a heartbeat? I know I can count on two hands right now. I can get at least 10 people that would trade spots with you in a heartbeat. Trust me, it can be a lot worse than having a job that's helping to pay your bills. But that's just how it is. That's what we think. We think, oh, I hate my job. Life is so horrible. This is so terrible. When we forget to look for the meaning and to look around. And again, with everything being relative, nothing is just so set in stone and black and white. Nothing in this world is. There are layers upon layers upon layers for everything. And we tend to forget that when it comes to this third dimensional matrix style reality that we live in. Everything in our lives is feedback. Everything in our lives is feedback. It's all there to help continue to guide us and to push us down our path towards our purpose, to help us grow. Everything, even the things that suck or that we would consider to be bad. It's been, it's been about a week and a half-ish, something like that, since I've checked in here. And for those of you that had the chance to listen to my show a couple weeks ago, Rage Against the Dying of the Light, haven't really eased up much since then, and it's been a challenge. My wife and I wound up having to put down another one of our cats the other day, and that one was difficult. That was more of my cat. That was the family cat, And again, it wasn't so much that the cat was gone, although I do miss him, but it's having to now try to explain to my 3-year-old and my 1.5-year-old, where's Cracker? And it's been a week and a half, and they still ask. And that's been very challenging, having to every day have to re-explain, Cracker's not here, he died, and have to just explain it all over every time and be patient and not get frustrated. And it's difficult. And then car troubles. I have a vehicle that has just been giving me nothing but troubles for the past couple of years. Nothing but troubles. I have had everybody look at it. Just everybody. And it's just the oddest things in the world. And the biggest one, the last couple of years, the vents haven't worked properly. So I'd be driving down the road, and it would be, the worst was the wintertime. Taking the kids to school in the middle of winter. And we get in there and warm the car up, and we're halfway there, and all of a sudden the vents just stop working, and there's no heat coming out. That sucks, because it gets really freaking cold here in Nebraska. So in the middle of, sub-zero temperatures, I'm having to drive everybody around. The vehicle's freezing. They're whining. They're complaining. I'm taking it in everywhere I can think of. Nobody can figure out what's going on. We've changed the blower motor assembly. We've changed the sun sensor. Everything we could possibly think of. took it into the shop the other day. Took it in the dealership this time. I had a bad experience with the dealership a few years ago, and I was like, nah, forget this. But there was a recall, and I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and take care of it while we're here. Let's do the alignment. It's time. Potholes in Omaha, Nebraska are just ungodly insane. It's so horrible. It's bad. And so I take it in, get the alignment done. They do the recall, and I tell them about this problem, and they get back to me. They did a ton of research. Kudos to them. Fantastic dealership. I'm going to be giving them more business now. Such a good job. They figured out what it was. Some just random obscure thing that happens in this particular model of vehicle. And I'm not going to name the vehicle because I'm not here to trash the make and model of this car. I really enjoyed it. I think I just had one of the exceptions to the rule. But it was a air compressor. Just this weird air compressor causing a short in the system, which causes the vent doors to just randomly open and shut at odd times. Okay, that's really weird. I already knew I had to replace the air compressor because they told me that over the summer when I went in to get the AC recharged, and they were like, hey, your air compressor's not working, so you need to replace it. Okay, all right, well, I'll add that to the list. So getting ready to do that, my wife picks up a dresser. Not picks up, but she orders one off the marketplace online, a used dresser. So I go to pick it up for her, and I take the car. It's a bigger SUV, 3 rows. I can fold everything down. Fits in there perfectly. It's okay, great. So I take it out and I meet her, and we're in Bellevue, which is like south of Omaha a bit, and this is in North Omaha. So it's a bit of a drive, not horrible, maybe 20, 30 minutes. It's about average. You can get pretty much anywhere in Omaha for 20, 30 minutes. And so I get out there, and I'm waiting for her to arrive. She had the kids in the other vehicle, and as I'm sitting there, I'm listening to podcasts in the car. I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm listening to a podcast, and I noticed this weird, like, squeaking sound coming out of the engine. And I was like, what is going on now? You've got to be kidding me. Now what? And then I look up, and I look out the dash, the windshield, and there's smoke coming up out of the hood on the passenger side. And I said, oh, now what? What could possibly go wrong now? And so I turned the car off, get out, and it had just overheated. I'm looking, and the coolant tank is boiling, just rolling boil. And it was causing steam to come out. It was coming out of a little hole, which was causing a whistle. So the smoke wasn't smoke, it was steam. And that squeaking sound that I saw was the steam whistle coming out of my vehicle because it overheated. And so we loaded up the dresser, and I just said, let me let it cool off for a bit, and then I'll take it into the dealership because they just had it a week ago. Like, what did they do to this thing? They just had it. And so I called the dealership and let them know, and of course they're like, well, we didn't do anything that would affect that. I know, but could you take a look at it anyway and just make sure for me? And so I go to start the car, and it had cooled off. The temperature gauge was down. It was out of the red, and I got about a block. Made it to the top of the hill, turned left, and it just shuts off. That's it. I think I'm done with this vehicle. So I call for a tow. Tow truck comes. They take it to the dealership. We're waiting to get this done. Meantime, my son earlier in the week fell and out of his high chair at daycare. We rush him to the ER. This poor little boy fell, like face planted, face first, and just bit through the inside of his upper lip and wound up having to get a stitch. So he's fine. It could have been much worse. It wasn't exactly like it was fun. And my wife had to hold him down in the ER while they were stitching up the inside of his mouth, because of course he's 1.5 and just screaming bloody murder. And I can't be there because COVID. I'm only gonna have one person in there because God forbid I give my son COVID, even though I'm around him all the time. Whatever, different topic, different show. So all of this is just coming on at one time. And I'm calling people trying to get a ride because the tow truck's coming, and, you know, the tow truck notification is like, hey, you're probably not going to be able to ride for safety reasons. You might want to arrange for your own transportation to get wherever you need to go. So I'm calling down my list of people. Nobody's available. Finally get a hold of my wife. She comes back. Everything's fine. A friend of mine gets a hold of me later that day and sends me a text. Hey, I'm sorry I missed you. Do you still need me? I said, no, I was stranded North Omaha, all scared and alone, and you left me there, but that's fine. Whatever. No, I'm good. And he's like, well, what happened? I told him, and he just said, man, this week needs to leave you alone. And yeah, that about sums it up. That was last week. This week, oh my gosh, it doesn't stop. My oldest winds up in the ER. So I'm at work again, like a week to the day. I stand up, I go to my manager, like, Ryan, I got to go take another kid to the ER. And he's like, okay, bye. And I leave. Love where I work, super flexible. I so much appreciate them for that. So I take her there, and they're checking on her because she wound up developing a tic. And just a facial tic where she was blinking a lot. If you're watching the video, this is what it looked like. She just constantly, she couldn't stop. And then she started to stutter. And it immediately reminded me of when I was going through my tribulation, when I was going through my struggles with the system the first time around while I was awaiting the guillotine to be dropped on my head. Yeah, I had a psychosomatic reaction as well. And a psychosomatic reaction, for anybody, if I'm speaking Greek here, it basically just means that the emotions cause a physical reaction in your body. Your body reacts to the emotions, and it caused me to shake uncontrollably. Like my hands would just shake constantly, and I would sometimes stutter as well. It was like my brain, the best way that I can explain it was like my brain was a record, and it was just skipping. I couldn't complete a thought. It was very difficult. It was super frustrating. And as I was watching her, that was exactly what I was thinking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I passed down to this poor child? Oh my God. And I'm sitting there just reflecting on my situation with all of that. And anyway, she checks out fine. It may just be something simple like like I said, a psychosomatic reaction, just a one-time and done. As we were sitting there, it was starting to calm down a little bit. Just basically not handling stress properly. When you don't handle stress properly, your body begins to break down because it's a physical reaction from that stress. It's not stress necessarily that's the enemy. It's the lack of recovery from that stress. That's the actual problem. So, fine, that's all done. That's good. And I come home, and then, of course, the next day, my daughter, same daughter, is like, hey, can I bring my new boyfriend over to meet you? Like, you've got to be kidding me. You know, of all times to want to bring a new boyfriend over here, you pick now. But, what do you do? You can't say no, and you know you're not allowed to see him and forbid it because then she's just going to want to see him more. Okay, fine. Bring him over. We'll stay upstairs. We'll all be together. We'll play a game. He goes home at 8. You do homework. Okay, fine. We'll give it a shot. And that went okay. It was good. Just today, I'm recording this at 6:27 p.m. on Thursday, April 8th, just to break the fourth wall here, I guess. today. We had an incident with my oldest that really gave us a good scare. And I don't have her permission, so I'm not going to talk too much about the details of it. But yeah, it's difficult. It's not fun. It's very challenging. You know, and as a parent, all of your insecurities kick in when it comes to your kids. You know, you can sit down and rationally talk with someone else when it's theirs. Oh, you know, well, have you tried this? Don't forget about this. It's going to be okay. Don't worry. But when it's your kid, you freak out. And I don't know how I'm as composed as I am right now, to be honest with you. I mean, I pulled the owner of my job. I pulled him aside real quick. He's a good friend of mine. And I just said, hey, look, here's the deal. Here's what's going on. I don't know what's going to come of this, but just I want you to be aware in case if I've got a jet, be gone for a while, just so you know. And he's like, whatever you need, let me know. I'm like, right now, I just need to go back to work because I can't think about this. I don't want to be alone. I don't need to sit there with my thoughts. Let me do something routine and just kind of go back at it. So all of this going on really wears you down, you know? When you have those times when it's just like one thing after another, you wind up starting just, it takes a physical toll. And physically, I'm a little more tired than normal, man. I come home and I'm just mentally like, I'm done. This day feels like this day took everything out of me. I don't know that I have much more to give. And physically, you know, I'm like, because I'm so stressed, my body needs to recover. I'm tired. I need to get some more sleep, some better sleep. And, you know, mentally, I'm having to take a look and go, why? I should not be this exhausted. And my temper is short. And I hate that. I'm a very patient man. My patience is normally endless. I've been short with the kids, you know, the younger ones. It's parents, you know what I'm talking about. My son, if I hear my son say, Daddy, it's like, oh, and when he first starts to say it, like, oh, so he said my name, he says Daddy, and it's just non-stop. I'm like, dude, if you say Daddy one more time, I am going to lose my mind. What do you want? And he's 1.5, so he doesn't know. He's just running around saying Daddy, and he just wants to tell me everything, but I have no idea what he's saying to me half the time. So that's even more frustrating. What do you want? I don't know. But he's still so young, and he doesn't understand, you know, boundaries. He doesn't understand no. He doesn't understand that when he wants a cereal bar, the 10th one for the day, and I say no, he doesn't understand that I'm doing it with his best interests at heart. He just understands that I want a cereal bar, and Dad's not giving me the cereal bar, and I'm going to scream and I'm going to throw a fit now. And then I eventually lose it. Not in a bad way. I wind up yelling. Not the most productive or constructive manner of dealing with it, and I fully acknowledge that. Here's where we start to get to the meat of the topic here. As I mentioned earlier, everything around us is feedback. Everything is feedback. And as I was sitting at night contemplating, you know, what is going on? Why is all of this happening right now? Is this just the season? Everything can't always be sunshine and rainbows. That's okay. The pendulum swings to the left and then it swings back to the right. Everything goes really, really, really smoothly for a while, and then it's not so smoothly. But it's during those not so smoothly times that, you know, that's when you got to step your game up. And that's what those times are for. And so I'm sitting there contemplating, thinking, okay, what am I missing something? What am I trying to learn from this? What are you trying to teach me? Is there something maybe that I'm doing that's causing all of this? And just really trying to do that inner reflection. And as I was doing that, I thought back to most of my life, especially leading up to my incarceration. And it just seemed like I always felt like God would have to hit me upside the head with a 2x4 to get my attention. And what I realize now is, of course, looking back at life, that there were signs along the way. It was more of a, hey, don't do that. No, that's not the direction you're supposed to go. No, you're still going the wrong way. What are you doing? No, hey, what do you think you're doing? And then the 2x4 would come to get my attention, and then it would have my attention, and I would go, oh, crap, I'm going the wrong direction. And then I would get back on the path. And now I am creating that same thing with my relationship with my son, where I tell him, no, you can't have the cereal bar. No, you can't have the cereal bar. No, dude, you can't have it. And then, no, the loud dad voice comes out. And that doesn't make him stop crying. It makes him cry for a different reason. And then, as I went even deeper, I said, okay, so I'm repeating a pattern. I've made some recognition now. Got it. I'm repeating a pattern. Why am I repeating this pattern? Where did this pattern even come from? Because everything is programming. Everything is programming. And we, as creative, powerful beings, on a day-to-day basis, we create our own reality. So not only am I now creating this reality for my son, but I look back, the reality of the situation is those times that life had to hit me upside the head with a 2x4 is because that's what I created. That was what I wanted at some level. And this all really got me thinking about how we all really need to look around at everything that's going on around us and figure out, what is life trying to tell me? It's a little premise. According to psychology, everything in our lives, everything in life, is based on our perception and projection. So perception, the definition of perception, is the way humans see the world and relate to their experiences. There's 5 different stages, and they include stimulation, organization, interpretation, memory, and recall. So stimulation. We are stimulus response creatures, okay? A stimulus happens to us, and we react to it. Stimulus response. This was very simply, the most simple way that I can relate this is the example of Pavlov's dog, where Pavlov did this experiment with a dog where he would feed the dog at the same time every day, and before he would feed it, he would ring the bell, just a little bell that he had, and then he would feed the dog. And then at one point, at the same time, he picked up the bell and rang the bell, but didn't feed the dog. And as soon as he rang the bell, the dog immediately started to salivate. His body was reacting to that stimulus, saying, time to eat. And his body literally started to prepare for the food. Stimulus response. And that's what we are as well. We're just a little bit more complicated at it, and we have a higher level of self-awareness. Organization is then when your brain begins to take that information and organize it based on our past input. And that's what the interpretation is. So as something comes in, I have to then filter it through all of my past experience and interpret it through all of the data that I've been given in the past, all of the past stimulus that has been given to me. And then it moves into memory, where I store it and remember it down the road as recall. Recall is when I can do exactly what I just did and say, hey, I remember this one time when blah, 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 blah. Now, here's a quote from Alison Miller on the topic of psychology, and I thought it was really beautiful for this. Programming is the act of installing internal, pre-established reactions to external stimuli so that a person will automatically react in a predetermined manner to things like auditory, visual, or tactile signal, or perform a specific set of actions according to a date and or time. Let me read that one more time, and then we'll go over it a little bit. Programming is the act of installing internal, pre-established reactions to external stimuli so that a person will automatically react in a predetermined manner to things like auditory, visual, or tactile signal, or perform a specific set of actions according to a date and or time. So what that's really saying is that programming is the act of installing data, taking that stimulus, that external stimulus, programming it into your brain with an automatic reaction, so that when this stimulus occurs, your body will automatically react in the same way, in the same fashion, every single time it happens. And that programming occurs at an unconscious level. And this programming starts from the time, well, realistically, from the before we're even born, but from the ages of birth and 13, those are your formative years. That's when you are programmed the most. Your mind is like a sponge during those years. Those are your formative years. Your brain is soaking up all of that stimulus and forming all of its automatic reactions in a predetermined manner. And then after age 13, they're set. And they will very rarely, if ever, change. They can, but it's difficult. So that's the programming. Projection, the definition of projection is the mental process by which people attribute to others what is in their own minds. Now, I've talked about projection on the show quite a bit. You know, and I especially use it in the context of reentry. You know, if someone is pointing the finger at you and saying, "Oh, look at how horrible of a person you are. Look at what you did. Look at the mistake you made." The person's not really mad at you. They're just attributing to you what's in their own mind. You are reflecting back to them something about themselves that they don't like. Something that they haven't dealt with before. So when they point the finger at you and they say, "Look at what you did. How could you have done that?" They're really basically pointing that finger at themselves. And I know that it sounds very cliche, but it's 100% true. And if you think about this in just a very simple context, remember the story of the school bully. The bully who always picked on everybody else, but he picked on everybody else because he really didn't like himself. He was really insecure, and so he took that insecurity out and projected it on other people and beat them up. In the simplest terms, that bully was trying to beat himself up. This is the same thing. So when you put these two things together, you've got perception and projection. So life is all about perception and projection, how we perceive everything around us, and then what we project back onto that. So this is where, this is where I'm at this point, is trying to dig in through this and looking at all of this around me and trying to figure out what's the message. What's the message? What am I projecting on all of this? I have that creative force within me. But if I am reacting on these pre-programmed stimuli from my formative years, am I really creating the life that I want? Or am I just operating on automatic based on data that was programmed into me when I was a little kid? It's probably the latter. It is the latter. It's not probably. It's the latter. And there's nothing in life that this doesn't apply to. It's everything. This is such a deep topic. I know I'm scratching the surface, but if I can get the wheels started within your brain to just look around, then maybe you can start to have some of these aha moments where you can say, okay, you know what? I recognize that I am now repeating this pattern with my son. So how do I stop that? Now that I recognize it, now I can begin to make the decision of whether or not I'm going to change it. It's really difficult. Easier said than done, but that's the work. But that's the first step. Recognition is the first step. I recognize it now. Instead of just going through life and thinking, well, that's how it should be. You're supposed to yell at your kids when they do something wrong. They need to learn. I say those things all the time. I don't know another way. Now I need to learn one. And then you can get even deeper with it. So, with a vehicle, so if you use the same, sometimes people use the metaphor of, well, if your body was a car, what kind of fuel would you put into it? They use that metaphor or that analogy in like health and nutrition quite a bit. And it's pertinent. It definitely applies. So if we follow that through, I have a vehicle that just keeps having these issues. And then I go back and I connect the dots to what I was saying earlier about how I'm feeling so worn out. This is all taking a toll on me. I'm starting to be really tired. I woke up yesterday morning perfectly fine. Halfway through the day, it feels like I broke my toe, a big toe on my left foot, and it hurts. This morning I wake up and it is just as bad. I've been limping all day long. My vehicle is not being cared for properly. My vehicle needs some attention. And instead of throwing a fit and getting all frustrated and being like, oh, the car is broken down now, what are we going to do? We need that. Oh, my gosh, it's going to cost so much money. Blah, 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 blah. Just very calmly say, okay, what are you trying to tell me here? The vehicle is breaking down. What's the message? What is going on? How am I creating this now? What am I projecting? Why is my toe feel like it's broken? It's not broken. What is going on? So now I have to turn back internal. I have to turn it all back inside. And this is really where this message is going. We get so caught up in everything that happens around us that we think that it's happening to us instead of happening for us. You may have heard that before. It sounds somewhat cliche, but it's so profound when you stop and you think about it. Instead of, oh, why is this happening to me? Have you ever said that? I've said that. Oh, but why is this happening? Why does this always happen to me? I know people like that. Why does it always happen to me? Why me? Why me? Well, dude, that's a good question. Why is it happening to you? Have you stopped to ask why with the intent of actually figuring it out? So instead of a, why is this happening to me, say, why is this happening for me right now? And that's the internal work. You have to turn that lens from the outside and turn it back inside. Let me give you a perfect example. I was witness to a gentleman do a coaching session. And the event that came up was he was younger, and his father wanted him to put together a shelf, like a wooden shelf. And he didn't know how to do it. He was a little kid. He had no idea. He was following the instructions to the best of his ability, and he put it together wrong. And his dad came in, and the shelf just fell apart. And for the longest time, for all of his life, up until that point, that had been something that he had been holding on to. That was something that had happened to him. His dad got so mad about that, and he was so upset that he couldn't build that shelf, and he felt so horrible that he let his father down, and oh my gosh, why did this happen to me? When he was able to look at it in a safe setting, through this lens, being able to put all of this together and say, okay, why did this happen? Why did this happen for me? It was such a very simple message. He said, you know why? Because that was the universe telling me I'm not supposed to be a carpenter. So simple and yet so profound. It wasn't some horrible moment that happened in his life. It was just very simply the universe saying, hey, this is not your purpose. You're not supposed to be a carpenter, dude. Just don't work with wood. But he had been interpreting it as something that happened to him and had internalized all of these negative and disempowering emotions about him being a failure and not meeting up to his dad's expectations, and just down the line, instead of just realizing the simple message of, hey, you are not supposed to be a carpenter. That is not your purpose. That is what happens when you turn it inside out. When you stop focusing on everything that's external, everything that's outside, and why is this all happening to me? Why is it happening for me? You know, I really don't know why a lot of stuff is going on around me right now. I don't know why I have 2 kids in the ER in the last week. I don't know why. I don't know why the car broke down. You know, obviously there's a little bit to it, but I have a feeling that there's more. I don't know why I was backing out of the driveway yesterday, and literally my mind blanked, and I did not see the car behind me. Backed into the truck's wheel well, broke my tail light, messed up the bumper a little bit. It's drivable. It's not horrible. Dude was super cool about it. His truck, he was like, I don't even think you did any damage to mine. Yeah, I don't think I did either. I think it was mine. Why did that happen to me? You know why? I know. It was such a blatant, I heard it. I heard it in my head as soon as it happened. As soon as I got done and I went to leave, it said, hey, too much stress, not enough recovery. You need to pay attention to yourself, man. Instead of going down the drain and circling, oh my gosh, I gotta spend money to fix this. How much is, oh my gosh, it's $200 to get a new taillight replaced. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so horrible. Oh, how much is it gonna be for the bumper? Oh, all this money. Hey, it's a thing. It's replaceable. You know what the message is here? Dude, pay attention. Too much stress, not enough recovery. You're slipping. Focus on yourself. That's my message. So, what is life trying to tell you? There's a guy. You probably know him. I know him. The one that always seems to have some horrible event that's the end of the world happening to him at that moment. Oh my God, you know what happened now? Oh, this is horrible. Oh my God, now this happens. Why did this? Oh, yep, it always happens to me. You know the guy. You might be the guy. I've been that guy at some times. I'm not even going to try to lie about it. I've been that guy at times. Absolutely have. We all get caught up in our own shit. And we like to wallow in it from time to time. Don't even lie. You know you do. You know that guy. And do you ever just want to stop and go, dude, it's not that bad. Are you kidding me? You know what I'm right there? That's the universe. That's life using you to try to get that guy's attention too. And say, hey, dude, just pay attention. These are not the horrible life-altering events that you think they are. I'm just trying to tell you something. Would you listen to me for a minute, please? So, are you having car troubles? Have you noticed that maybe if you're having car troubles, are you also having some troubles with your body? Maybe it just doesn't feel right. Maybe you don't have the energy that you used to. Maybe you're feeling depressed. Maybe you just don't feel, you just feel off. You just don't feel right. There's a correlation. Are you having money issues? Does it just seem like every time money comes in, it just goes right back out the door? There's always some disaster. You get paid, and, oh, I'm going to have enough money, and then the refrigerator breaks down, and you got to spend money to pay that, and the money goes out there. Well, if money is just energy, what are you doing with your energy? Where are you wasting your energy? Where is it that your energy is just going out the door? Instead of investing it, you're just throwing it away. It's a deep topic. Hopefully I got through. You know, some tricks to help with this. So simple. So very, very simple. Just to get started, spend some time by yourself. Solitude. Solitude and meditation. If you don't know how to meditate, Google it, YouTube it. If we've got Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime has a host of things like different meditation videos and yoga videos and things like that. I mean, take advantage of the resources around you. Take 5-10 minutes a day and just do some meditation. Because what that's going to do is that's going to allow your body to quiet and your unconscious mind to turn off for just a little bit, to allow your unconscious mind to talk to you and say, hey, here's the message. Here's what we're trying to tell you. But you can't ever hear that message if there's always noise going on around you. Take some time in quiet and solitude. Journal. Journaling at the end of the day. Recap your day. What a simple and yet so profoundly effective tool. Just get a pen and some paper and just write about what happened that day. No judgment. Don't filter it. Just write it all out. And as you're writing, it's just coming out. It's literally transferring that energy from your mind and expelling it out onto the paper. It's just getting it out and allowing it to process through your body. And then your body can say, oh, I see. Okay, I know what that was about. And then your mind goes, oh, yeah, all right. And then you get it. Two very, very simple, effective tools. Third, get help. You know, there's no harm in asking for help. On my way into work today, I reached out to a friend of mine who's a coach who I've come to know over the last few years, and he's helped me tremendously. You know, he helped me to process through some of my father's grief from when my father passed a few years ago. I was still hanging on to some of it. He helped me through that. He's helped me just to work on myself a ton. I recognized, man, I'm pushing too hard. I need some help. And I gave him a call. Hey, Steve, this is Dave. Give me a call back, please. And I'm going to tell him, I need your help. And I'm going to go and I'm going to have a session with him. I don't know what it's going to look like, but that's okay. Because the thing is, you can't see through your own shit. I can't see through my own shit. We have to have somebody else there to help. You have to have that outside perspective, someone that can say, hey, do you think maybe this is going on? Or you sure you really should be doing that? Just things like that. Ask for help. If you don't know a coach in your area, reach out. I will be more than happy to help. I do free coaching sessions for an initial call. I'll help as best as I can. And if you don't want to take advantage of me, totally fine. I can help you find somebody. They're everywhere. But the key is just start. Take action. Hopefully this has been beneficial. I hope you found value. And I hope that this connected with the right person at the right time. Don't forget, you can visit me online at www.survivingthesystem.org, on Facebook at facebook.com/survivingthesystem, on Twitter at STSThePodcast. I'm available almost 24/7 except for the times that I'm sleeping. Usually not available then. I'm not paying much attention to my phone at that time. Send me a message. I will respond within 24 hours, give or take. I'm usually pretty quick on the trigger when somebody messages me. If you have an idea for a show, let me know. This platform is as much yours as it is mine. And if you know someone who has a story of success that needs to be told, or maybe it's you, let me know. I'd be more than happy to have you on. Let's talk. And if I can be of any service, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for listening today. And as always, don't forget, keep your head up. Don't let them get you.